Hey, gorgeous! Welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast with Holly Wharton, which combines powerful strategies on how to upgrade your business mindset along with practical business tips to grow your business. This podcast features solo shows with Holly and also interviews with inspiring women entrepreneurs from around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. And now, here's your host, Holly Wharton.
Hello and welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast, episode 177X. This is an extra episode that I'm super excited to bring to you. Today I'm talking with Tameka Allen. Tameka is a business strategist, certified coach, speaker, and the founder of TamekaAllen.com. She works with professional women who are frustrated with their careers and are ready to step out and start their own business. Tameka helps them embrace the value of their undeniable gift, I love the sound of that, gain clarity on their business strategy, and take intentional action to build a business they love. Welcome, Tameka.
Thank you, Holly. Happy to be here today.
I'm excited to talk to you, and I love how you talk about people's undeniable gift, because I think sometimes it can be so hard for us to figure out what our gifts are, and the fact that you see them as undeniable, I love that.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about your background and your business journey and how you got to where you are today?
Well, that is quite a journey, but I'll give you the short version. I spent 12 years working in corporate HR. So kind of started off in what you might call a helping industry, matching people up with using their gifts to contribute towards a job or a company. Also did some training with software training within the HR industry as well. And I got to a point where I became a little bored with what I was doing. I didn't feel challenged, and I felt limited in what I could do to contribute towards the organization and also, the employees and the managers I was serving. And so from that point, I said, well, maybe I will go back to school and get an MBA. And with that, I could move into executive leadership. And then from there, maybe I won't feel so unfulfilled. Maybe that'll strike something in me. So I was talking with a colleague, and at the time, she was pursuing a doctorate degree. She wanted to go off and be a college professor, and she was preparing to defend her dissertation. And I was so psyched for her because I saw her go through this process. And I started asking her questions about what she was going to do with this degree. And so she told me about her plans. And so she reciprocated the question, well, what about you? Are you going to climb the corporate ladder in HR? And immediately my gut came out of my mouth said no.
Oh, wow. And did that surprise you, or was that something that you knew anyway?
I don't think I knew until that moment. I've been struggling with it. And immediately I said no. And so she said, well, what are you going to do? And so I started to describe to her what I wanted to do. I wanted to help people create the perfect career for them, so to speak, using what they do well, help them earn a living doing it. But I was like, there's no way I can get paid to do that, offer them support, accountability, be a resource to them. And she said, oh, that's coaching. Mm-hmm. I had no idea what coaching was.
I know. I went through the same process as well. I went through a big life change, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And this friend kind of described this kind of thing to me, and I was like, I don't even know what that is. And then I started Googling, and I was like, oh, there's a thing called coaching. It already exists.
Absolutely. So that night, I went home scouring the internet about coaching, and I'm like, this whole world exists. I had no idea what was out there. Mm-hmm. And so ironically, I stumbled upon one coach, and her name happened to be Valerie Burton. And ironically, I actually read one of her books because I was always like a self-help junkie. And come to find out, she actually had a coach certification program called the CAP Institute, Coaching and Positive Psychology. And so I jumped on it, went through her certification, went through her training, and from there started coaching clients on a part-time basis. Now, at this point, it was more professional women and executives and executive women that I started coaching on a part-time basis. Well, as you would have it, life happened. And through some organizational changes, the company I was working for downsized. And through that, I was left without a job. So, and at the same time, I was going through a divorce. So I went from corporate professional, married, 2 children, to a single mom with 2 girls with support. And
those are 2 major life changes to happen at the same time.
Major life changes, wouldn't wish them on my worst enemy. And so quickly I discovered that my business was not making enough money to support me and my 2 daughters. And so after doing some hustling and just trying to figure things out on my own, I had to chunk it up and go back to work. A very humbling feeling.
Yeah.
And during that time of having to go back to work, I still didn't give up. I knew even after going back to work, I really became grateful, almost grateful it happened, because it really confirmed for me, yeah, I am not supposed to be here. I found another job. And while I enjoyed the people that I worked with, I was still left with that unfulfilling feeling of what I was doing for a living. So through that, I invested in mentorship, became an avid student of sales and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And then through that process, I was able to finally step away from the job, this time voluntarily for good.
Excellent. So how did you finally manage to make that big decision? And how did you know that it was the right time for you to leave your job and that your business was strong enough to support you?
I had started gaining clients before I left, and I really gave up a lot of time to make sure that, first of all, some of the foundational things that I work with my clients on, I had to make sure that that was clear. And I've struggled to do that on my own. You know, it's easy to help someone else when you're on the outside looking in.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in it, you really need another perspective because there may be things that you're missing. And so investing in that mentorship really made a difference for me. I probably would have still been trying to figure it out on my own had I not done that.
Yeah, I think that is so important to get that external perspective. Because as you said, you're kind of stuck in your head all day. Like you only know what you know, and you can only see things from that one perspective of you going over and over doing the stuff to build your business. But getting someone else to kind of come in with fresh eyes and give you advice and give you a new perspective is just completely game changing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just being open to, and I'll talk a little bit more about this too, us not being superwoman and think we can do it all and we know it all, because as phenomenal as we are, we don't.
Yeah.
We don't.
Well, and coming on to being Superwoman, I'm super impressed that you managed to build a business while having a job and raising two girls on your own. So how did you do that? Were you waking up at the crack of dawn? Were you staying up late, working? Like, how did you fit this in?
I found myself staying up late more than I did getting up early, just because I had my girls to get off to school and then I had to get off to work. And it gotten to a point where I was gaining clients, but at the same time, my job was demanding more and more, and it was getting more and more difficult for me to balance both of them. Mm-hmm. So between the clients that I had, so by this point, I was generating like 4 figures a month in the business. I was able to use that and the savings I had as a cushion to go ahead and finally get rid of the job, because it became too much of a struggle to try to balance both any longer because the demands of the job kept increasing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. So did you experience any kind of fears or blocks or mindset stuff come up as you built your business?
Absolutely. And the reason for that is because it could be a number of reasons for that. But for me in particular, I didn't come from a family of entrepreneurs. My father worked in the industrial steel mill industry in the Midwest, and him and my mom, it was a pretty simple objective about how you make a living. You get an education, you find a job, you keep it for 20 or 30 years, and then you retire and get your pension. That was it. There was no in between. So just the thought of entrepreneurship, one of the mindset blocks I had to get through was thinking I had an idea of what entrepreneurship was when my thinking was limited around it. So I always associated with selling a product, or maybe it's a lawyer with a practice or an accountant with a CPA firm. I always attributed to those things and not necessarily someone that offered a service like coaching to be able to build a business. So getting over those mindsets, again, surrounding myself with people, with like-minded people. So as I went through the coach training, that really kicked off me having peers to be able to connect with and help us encourage one another to get over those mindset blocks, in addition to having a coach.
Excellent. So was there a tipping point in your business where things went from kind of that struggle to build things up to flowing?
Yes. Like I said, it was devastating to have to go back to work. I think that's probably one of the biggest fears that entrepreneurs, whether they be online or offline, have, especially when you figure out that you're wired to be an entrepreneur. And that was something that I had no idea. I stumbled upon that. But after that, it became clear as to why I hit that stalling point in my career and why I couldn't seem to be like everyone else and go the path that they went. But for me, I'm grateful that things happened the way that they did, because when I went back to work, not only did it confirm, okay, this entrepreneurship thing has to be for me because this isn't, but I humbled myself and realized that I wasn't Superwoman and that I needed help. And I think sometimes it can be very difficult, whether you're a new entrepreneur or even established, to humble yourself to say you need help and not see it as a weakness, but actually see that as a strength and as wisdom.
I agree. And it's so easy to get stuck in that trap of, I've got to do everything myself. I've got to figure it out. I've got to learn everything. I've got to do it all on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, if anything, that's probably the quickest way to fail, is to not accept the help that's going to help you, propel you to getting the results that you want. And for me, I had to go back to one thing that helped me get from struggling to flow, even in obtaining clients, was I had to be willing to get more no's than I got yeses. So that rejection piece, so to speak, because it makes us feel vulnerable, especially if we take it personally instead of just thinking that this just isn't for this person, or maybe this isn't even my ideal client. And that no may be a favor for you. For one, maybe it's not the right person. And two, that you just need to keep going.
Yeah. It's so easy to take things personally, though, because in this kind of business, it's like we're marketing ourselves, we're selling our services. And so when people say no for any one of a million reasons, it's so easy to just say, or think, oh, she didn't like me. I'm not good enough. And all of our stuff kind of comes up. So I think that's a really important point to make, that, not take this personally when people say no, because you could not be a good fit for a million different reasons.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So today I want to talk to you a little bit about reasons why our listeners might be struggling in business. And you have 5 reasons why people are struggling in business. So why don't you share with us some of your ideas of why this is happening and how people can kind of overcome these things and move on to grow the business that they want?
Yes, absolutely. Be glad to share those. So reason number 1 is you're probably focused on too many things. So instead of starting with one area of expertise, you're trying to help one ICA or one ideal client with multiple problems. So, or maybe it's too broad. So for instance, I'll use myself as an example. The first coaching business that I launched, I wanted to focus on resilience. Great topic, right? But the problem was it was too broad.
Yeah.
I was wanting to help women with resilience in their health, in their careers, in their relationships, in their personal lives. It was too many things instead of just really focusing in on one area that they may be struggling with resilience to use in their lives to overcome challenges and to achieve their goals. So the area that I was focused on, it was a little too broad. Another example is that I hear this with clients that I talk to and women I talk to who are wanting to leave their job and start their own businesses. They're focused on too many different things that are nowhere near related. So they want to help someone get in shape. They want to be their stylist and their organizer all at the same time.
I can do it all. Everything you need. Just call me.
No. And you know what? This is where another mindset piece comes in, Holly, I think you'll appreciate too, is understanding that most people, unless they come from a sales and marketing background, don't understand the value of actually narrowing down your focus. I think people are afraid, and I'm sure this is no news to you. People are afraid that they're going to miss out on potential clients, which ultimately lead to generating revenue, when we really need to get clear on what it is that we do well and who needs what we do. So going back to which I'll talk about is our undeniable gift, which is going to be a combination of things that are different from one person to another. But just focusing on too many things is a clear reason why you're going to struggle. Your ICA is, for who you think your ICA may be, will say, well, what is she doing? I'm not quite sure how she can help me when she's focusing on these different things. They don't see you as an expert, so to speak.
Exactly. And you end up writing sales copy that doesn't speak to anyone because you're trying to offer so many things that people read it, they're like, oh yeah, she does all this stuff. But, you're not really focused on that one thing that people need help with.
Absolutely. So reason number 2, you're struggling to build your business is it's connected to you're not clear on your ICA. And the reason why you're not clear on your ICA is after you figure out what your undeniable gift is and that one thing you're focusing on in your business, you may get the surface stuff about your ideal client, but you really don't dig deep and find out what her desires are, her challenges, her interests, study, and ultimately, this is the big one, studying what she needs help with, not what you want to help her with, is the big one. So in order to do that, the market research really is a constant thing. I think you do most of that work in the beginning, but I don't think it's ever a time that you stop studying what your ideal client wants.
No, because that could evolve over time too. I mean,
absolutely.
As you evolve and as you grow and as your client base evolves and grows, like it's always changing. I mean, not constantly, but like it will eventually change. So I think that's, as you said, a very important thing. It's not like you do the whole ideal client avatar thing when you first start your business and then you're set for life. You've got to kind of reevaluate it every once in a while and make sure you're on track, or has it changed? How has it changed? How can I adjust my marketing to fix this kind of new avatar that this person has evolved into?
Absolutely. And I find that's probably the number one thing clients dread doing, is that market research. And I'm going to tell you the truth, I don't like doing it, but I know it's something necessary I have to do if I ultimately want to serve the people that need my help with my undeniable gift.
And so how do you recommend that people kind of stay on top of doing this market research? How do you do it?
It's a number of ways that you can do it. Before you start working with clients, you may want to reach out to friends and family that may be interested or can refer you to someone that might be interested in talking with them and coming up with questions about, let them know this is something you're looking at doing, and then asking them simple questions around, is this something you would be interested in? What is your biggest challenge around? What is the biggest frustration around your job right now if you want to quit your job and start your own business? What are some of the things that are keeping you from doing that? What is the magic formula you need to be able to make this happen? Just getting those things out of them and getting in their head and understanding what they're thinking. And then also just really grasping that language that they're using so that as you're writing copy, that those particular terms come up and it resonates with your ideal client to where they feel like, how does she do that? She's in my head. She's in my head.
She speaks my language.
Absolutely. And then after you start working with clients, continue to look at those sessions that you're having with clients, the journey you take with them, and then understand what are some common themes that are coming up as you're working with these clients and using that also as market research.
Mm-hmm. Great. So what's reason number 3?
Reason number 3, you're focused on perfection.
Oh, God. I see this so much. Go on. I'm sorry, but this is such a common thing.
I don't care how much you hear it, but I constantly see it. And in the very beginning, the first time around, I really got stuck in this. That really caused me to procrastinate and getting the clients I need, which is another reason why the business probably failed. I was so busy on focusing on my logo, making sure my website was absolutely perfect, my social media. I'm telling you, I was focused on all the wrong things.
And that's busy work.
It is.
So we can
work.
feel so important and so busy, and we're working because we're doing the logo, we're tweaking. But that's busy work because all it needs to be is good enough. Absolutely.
But you know what? That's another thing that comes with that corporate mindset. I know I see this with my clients because corporate wants you to have everything absolutely perfect before it goes out for implementation. Now, I am not saying by any means that you just throw something out there, but I am saying that it comes to a point where you're never going to stop messing with your website. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen. There are things that are just over time that are just, you're going to get better at by actually doing it, versus sitting around and you can plan until the sun goes down. But at the end of the day, you're going to get more clarity by actually taking action and doing it and putting yourself out there.
Yes. And just delivering it, getting the website online, contacting clients for referrals, contacting people, getting out on social media and not tweaking the details.
Absolutely. So stop focusing on that perfection piece because it's not going to help you. It is actually hurting you right now. So number 4 is being afraid to receive. And this is a big one as well, because I think sometimes because women, we can be so much of a nurturer, that we're always giving, that we think it's a bad thing to receive.
Yes.
And I am a big believer in you cannot give what you don't have to give. And in order to do that, you have to put yourself first in terms of self-care. But also, it's funny how this translates in the way in business of receiving. So that's why women sometimes have a hard time selling themselves, because at the end of the day, that sale is not only going to help you give to your client, but it's also going to help you generate revenue. And in order to generate that revenue, and when you generate that revenue, you can give back to help support your family. You can give back to charitable causes. You can give back to your church if that's what you want to do. It's just so many things you can do with that revenue. And we think that's a selfish thing to actually generate revenue. We think it's a noble thing to give away our services. And for certain things, like maybe you're helping with a charity event and you're volunteering your services, that is a totally separate issue. But we have a problem asking for money.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you're not going to pay your mortgage or your rent without money. Like, it's not going to happen. So if you're giving away your services and like generating all this goodwill, the goodwill's not going to pay your bills.
No, it's not. And you feel guilt. And I find some women struggle with feeling guilty about charging more.
Yeah.
And that's not something you should feel guilty about, because you're adding value to someone's life, to someone's relationship, to the work that they do. And so you're giving. And so you need to be open to receive and just say thank you. That's it. So I find that that's a mindset piece that I work with on clients as well, is just getting over that fear of receiving, and then getting down to the why. Why are you afraid to receive? In accordance to this, why do you feel guilty about charging more? Because I think sometimes I had a client say this to me once. I feel like I'm taking away resources from her. And then I asked her, I said, well, what are you giving in exchange for those resources? And many times when we're operating in our undeniable gift, we end up giving to our clients a higher value than the resources they invest when they work with us. So just being afraid to receive is definitely a business killer.
I agree.
So number 5 is, and this is a big one, undervaluing your gift. It's almost linked to the asking to receive.
This is a huge one.
It's all about mindset and lack of confidence. And here's the thing too, especially, and this is another common theme that I find with women that are working in corporate America. Maybe they've never looked at entrepreneurship before, or new to business, is they, for some reason, associate, if you've had 10 to 20 years of experience, just say, for example, in accounting, and now you want to offer financial services to maybe other business owners or corporations as a contractor because you're running your own business. For some reason, that doesn't translate to them. Well, I can't count that experience because I didn't do it as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you...
Yeah, it's still experience that's in your head. You have the knowledge.
Absolutely. If you've helped produce results for someone else, whether it be an individual or organization, and you've done that consistently, that's valid experience that you should give yourself credit for. Because God knows when it comes to numbers, I can't help you. If that's not what my gift is, and I recognize that, but I sure would pay someone that does have that gift. And I'll give you a couple of examples. I love Apple products. So will I go out and get an iPhone? Absolutely. Will I go out and get that new MacBook? Absolutely, because I enjoy the quality of that product that Apple sells. Or something like Disney. For me, Disney is the ultimate vacation. And there are just things that differentiate them from other vacation experiences that I'm going to pay them more because of the experience and the quality and the value that they offer. One last example is something very personal to me. So I have, if you see my picture, I have dreadlocks.
Yeah, I love your hair. I'm sorry, I just needed to say that. I love it.
I have dreadlocks and they're called sister locks. And so the woman that cares, the loctician that I go to that cares for my hair, she has acquired a very unique skill. I can't go to just anyone. And so if she were to up and move, you better believe I'm driving somewhere to go find her. And you know what? I appreciate her gift and I pay her according to her value. I don't flinch if she raises her prices because that's something that's valuable to me. And that's the way we need to look at our ideal clients. If we are solving a particular problem for them, that is really something that they feel like they need to have in their lives. And that's going to make their lives easier or more convenient, or it's going to help them save time or money. People will invest in your services. But it all starts with us valuing the gift that we have.
That is such an important thing. And I'm so glad that you've kind of left this for the end because I think it's so important because I think when we have this gift, we think it's normal because it's normal for us.
Yes.
But as you said with the accountant, like for someone who loves numbers and who loves doing tax returns, like that sounds so, like I'm so happy to pay my accountant every year to do my tax return. I would never sit down to do that thing on my own because I would leave it till like the last minute or beyond. Like, I hate doing that stuff. But there are people who love that. It's very hard for me to wrap my head around that fact, but there are people who love doing that stuff.
Absolutely.
For whatever reason, that's their gift. So, you know, it's normal for them, but there are so many people out here who don't like doing that. So, you know, you've got to value that. Even if you think it's normal, it's not normal for everyone. Everyone has very different brains, very different minds, very different experience, very different things that they enjoy doing. And so there are people out there willing to pay for all kinds of things.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I'm grateful that my accountant has that gift.
Yeah, I know, me too. Oh, so glad I can pay someone to do that for me. So, Tameka, do you have any women business mentors? Are there any women entrepreneurs who inspire you?
Yes, I would say Valerie Burton is one because she was really my first coach and she helped me master the art of the industry of coaching. So, and positive psychology was wrapped up into that as well, which was very fascinating. So Valerie Burton, very well respected. I admire her very much. Marie Forleo, love Marie Forleo, have gone through B School. And I just admire just her quirkiness and her marketing and what she teaches about, you know, getting out of your own way. And I love one of the quotes that she says, and clarity comes from engagement, not thought. And that's something that I aspire to every day. Amy Porterfield, because I love her practicality and just her authenticity, listening to her teachings and going through some of her courses. And the last one is Mel Robbins. I don't know if you've heard of her or not, but she is a speaker and she has like one of my all-time favorite YouTube videos. You have to check it out.
Oh, yes, I saw that on your website. Yes. Okay, so I'll look for that. I will watch it and I will include it in the show notes because I was very curious about that, but I didn't have time to watch it.
Absolutely. How to stop screwing yourself over. It is the ultimate YouTube video. You must check it out.
Excellent. So, Tameka, how can our listeners work with you?
They are welcome. I'm actually accepting one-on-one clients for 2017. Ooh. So I can help a woman that was wanting to start an online business, or maybe she's already started and she's struggling to find those first or next clients. So they can go to TamekaNAllen.com. And also on social media, all the handles are Tameka N. Allen on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And also, I've started a new Facebook group. I'm so excited about it. It is for bold and ambitious female entrepreneurs, and they can join the group for free at boldandambitious.com.
Okay, excellent. Great. And you said you also had a free gift for our listeners.
Yes. So free gift that I have a free guide you guys can check out called 10 Rookie Mistakes Entrepreneurs Make and How to Fix Them. So you won't have to go through that fumbling phase I went through in my first coaching business. I put this guide together. I think you'll find it very valuable to help you get over some of those hurdles you may be facing right now.
Excellent. I think that's really, really practical because it can take so long to learn about creating this kind of business. I mean, I went into my business with over 10 years of business experience, and I had experience in online marketing, but it was a very different business to what I'm doing now. And even though I had that experience, I still had so much to learn. So I think giving people that kind of practical advice on mistakes that you've made or that you've seen other people make, so these people can avoid them, I think that's really, really important because it just kind of streamlines the process and makes everything easier. And I'm all about ease and just making things not difficult because I don't think they have to be difficult, even if they may feel like they are right now.
No, and they're not as difficult. We make them more difficult is really what the fact of the matter is. And this will help them get out of that analysis paralysis and stop being the hamster on the wheel going through the same thing over and over and over again. So I really hope they'll check it out and be a valuable resource to your listeners.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure to speak with you.
Absolutely.
And thank you for listening. And remember to visit hollywharton.com/177X for the show notes on this episode. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Business Mindset Podcast with your host, Holly Wharton. You can find more information about today's episode, including links for topics that were discussed at hollywharton.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to head over to iTunes and leave a quick review of this podcast. It just takes a minute. Thank you.